Picture Christmas Eve, 1945. A quiet home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. 10 children and 2 parents, all settled in for the night. The Sodder family. Laughter, warmth, the glow of the Christmas tree. Then, just past midnight, flames erupt. The house goes up in smoke. George and Jenny Sodder, with 4 of their children, scramble into the cold night. But 5 children vanish. Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny Lee, and Betty. Gone. No bodies, no bones, no answers. Just an agonizing void that's haunted this family for nearly 80 years. What really happened that night? This isn't just a story about a fire. It's a puzzle that refuses to be solved, a mystery that challenges common sense and official explanations. Tonight, we step into flames, sift through the clues, and follow the desperate search that spanned decades, all while one haunting question lingered. Where are we? It began on Christmas Eve. Marion, the Sodders' oldest daughter, came home from work with presents for her siblings. The younger kids begged to stay up late. Jenny, their mother, allowed it around midnight. She was woken by the phone ringing. A woman's voice asked for someone who didn't live there, followed by strange laughter, then silence. Moments later, Jenny heard a heavy thump on the roof and a loud bang, then nothing. She drifted back to sleep until smoke filled the house. Within minutes, fire devoured the Sodder home. George smashed a window to re-enter, cutting his arm badly. He tried again, desperate to reach the children upstairs, but the heat was unbearable. He ran to grab his ladder. It was gone. He tried to start his trucks to use them as escape ladders. Neither would start. Even the water pump in the yard failed. Every possible rescue route was cut off. By the time the local fire department arrived, hours later, the home was reduced to ashes. They said the blaze lasted only about 45 minutes. Yet, despite the official claim that the children had died in the fire, not a single bone or fragment was ever found. Jenny Sodder refused to accept this. She burned animal bones herself and found they never disintegrated completely. Experts told her even a 2-hour fire in a crematorium would leave remains. If jars, bed springs, and toys survived the blaze, how could 5 human bodies vanish without a trace? The family buried empty coffins, but their grief was filled with suspicion, and soon threats began to surface. George Sodder had enemies. He was an Italian immigrant, outspoken in his hatred for Mussolini and fascism, which angered some in the local community. Just weeks before the fire, a fired insurance salesman warned George, "Your house will burn and your children will die because of things you said." That same man was later spotted watching the Sodder home burn. Too many things felt deliberate. The missing ladder, the cut phone line, the disabled trucks. Were these just cruel coincidences or signs of sabotage? Local authorities declared the case closed within days. Death certificates were issued without remains. The fire chief later admitted he planted a cow's liver in the ashes, pretending it was human, hoping to ease the family's grief. But George and Jenny refused to stop searching. In 1952, they put up a massive billboard on Route 16. Photographs of the 5 missing children stared down at passing drivers with the words, "What was their fate? Kidnapped? Murdered? Or are they still alive?" The family offered reward money, $5,000, then 10, 15, even 35,000. They chased every lead. Reports of children in Texas, Alabama, Florida. They dug through ashes again. They even traveled to New York and Italy. But every trail went cold. Then, in 1968, 23 years after the fire, a letter arrived. No return address. Postmarked from Kentucky. Inside was a black and white photo of a man in his 20s. On the back was a cryptic message. "Louis Sodder, I love Brother Frankie. Illo Boys, a 90132. The family was convinced it was their missing son, now grown. They hired another investigator, but he vanished without a trace. The family updated their billboard, adding the mysterious photo, their hope burning just as bright. Theories swirled. Some say the children died in the fire and the lack of remains was a bizarre accident. Others believe they were kidnapped, perhaps by the mafia, perhaps by enemies of George. Some think local officials bungled or covered up the case. Others go darker. The fire was staged, the children taken before a blaze, murdered elsewhere, their bodies hidden forever. But no theory has ever brought closure. George died in 1969, still searching. Jenny wore black until her death in 1989, tending the memorial garden where their house once stood. Their youngest daughter, Sylvia, who survived the fire as a toddler, carried the search into the 21st century. She promised her parents she would never let the story die. She kept that promise until her death in 2021. For decades, the billboard loomed over Route 16, a haunting landmark known as the Where's the Justice sign. It finally came down after nearly 60 years, but the mystery it represented remains. 5 children vanished into the night of Christmas Eve, 1945. Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny Lee, Betty. No bodies, no closure, no peace. One day, perhaps we'll know the truth. Until then, their names remain a question mark written across history. If you want more stories like this, subscribe and ring the bell. And in the comments, share your thoughts. What do you think happened to the Sodder children?